No one noticed the switch the first time it was flipped. It was hidden behind a metal panel inside a power control room that hadn't been upgraded since the early 1990s. The label had faded, the screws were stripped, and the man who flipped it that night knew exactly why no one would ever question it. Because nothing happened right away. At least, nothing that looked connected. The town that never lost power. The town of Ashford, Ohio, sat between the highways and a river most people drove past without ever stopping. 12,000 residents, one hospital, one high school, one aging power substation. Built during the Cold War, Ashford had one strange reputation. It never lost power. Storms knocked out nearby towns every year. Ashford stayed lit. Blizzards, heat waves, floods. Nothing touched it. People joked that Ashford was protected. They were wrong. The man who fixed everything, Daniel Croft, had worked for the Regional Power Authority for 26 years. He wasn't important enough to be famous. He wasn't insignificant enough to be watched. He fixed what others didn't want to understand. Daniel knew every relay, every bypass, every undocumented modification that had been added quietly over decades. He knew which alarms were cosmetic, which warnings could be silenced, which backups were never tested, and he knew one thing no one else did. The substation had a manual isolation override that didn't appear on any official diagram. It had been installed in 1978 and forgotten, until Daniel used it the first night in October 14. At 11:37 p.m., Daniel entered the control room alone. Security cameras recorded him as usual. He unlocked the panel, reached inside, flipped the switch, and he waited. Nothing happened. Light stayed on. Systems read normal, no alerts. Daniel closed the panel and went home. At 2:19 a.m., a call came into 911. A woman reported that her husband had stopped breathing in his sleep. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes. The heart monitor malfunctioned. He switched units that one failed to be the time backup equipment arrived. The man was dead. Doctors called it a coincidence. It wasn't a pattern. Nitrogen monoxide one. So over the next 6 weeks, strange things happened in Ashford. Traffic signals froze for exactly 9 seconds. Then ResMed hospital monitors glitched during night shifts. Backup generators kicked in without warning, then shut off. Emergency radios cut out mid-sentence. Always briefly. Always at night. Always undocumented. And always followed by something else. A car accident. A missed alarm. A delayed response. People didn't panic because nothing looked connected. Until December 2nd, a winter storm hit Ohio hard. Ashford stayed lit. At 1:11 a.m., the hospital lost power in one wing only. Backup failed for 47 seconds. That was all it took. 3 patients died. Hospital administrators blamed old wiring. Daniel watched the news from his living room. He wrote nothing down. He didn't need to. The engineer who asked questions, Emily Ross, a grid reliability engineer, was sent to Ashford after the 3rd death. She wasn't looking for a crime. She was looking for an efficiency. She pulled historical data. Something bothered her. Every anomaly traced back to manual intervention, not system failure. Someone had been touching the grid. Late at night, Emily requested access logs. Daniel's name appeared, not as a suspect, but as a routine presence. Too routine. The switch that shouldn't exist. Emily found the panel by accident. It wasn't on her map. She opened it and froze. Inside was a mechanical override tied directly into the substation's load balancing logic, a relic from a time when the grid was designed to be controlled by hand. Flipping it wouldn't shut the power off. It would delay protection systems, just enough. She asked her supervisor about it. He told her to close the panel and forget she saw it. That night, Emily copied everything. The Record Dingemly didn't give up. She mailed copies of her data to 3 federal offices. One replied. An investigator asked for proof. Emily had one thing left: security footage. She broke into the substation at night and pulled archive video. It showed Daniel. Every time. Always calm. Always precise. She sent it. When the files disappeared, Emily submitted her findings to the regional office. 2 hours later, her access was revoked. The files were deleted. The arrest that never happened. Federal agents arrived in Ashford quietly. They interviewed Daniel at home. He didn't deny it. He explained it. He said the grid had been killing people slowly for decades through neglect. He said he was exposing weakness. He said the deaths were necessary. They didn't arrest him. They sealed the case. Daniel was transferred. The switch was removed. No charges were filed. Her supervisor denied the conversation. Security escorted her out. Someone didn't want the switch documented. The official story. The public explanation blamed aging infrastructure. Ashford upgraded its systems. Emily was offered a settlement and silence. She refused. Her career ended anyway. The last detail before the panel was removed, Emily noticed something carved into the metal behind it. 4 words. Small, careful, intentional. Control is invisible. The final flip on January 19th, Daniel returned to the substation. Snow covered the cameras. He flipped the switch again. This time, he held it. Ashford hasn't lost power since. No one was ever held responsible. The switch no longer exists, but thousands like it still do. Hidden, waiting. Across Ashford, hospital monitors lagged, dispatch systems delayed, Cal's traffic lights froze, backup systems waited too long. If this real mind-shocking American story made you question how much control really exists, subscribe to Shocking Mind. Turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next story America was never meant to hear. 9 people died that night. Daniel went home and slept.